couple of months back, the darndest thing happened. I get an email from the folks at Hyundai and they say, come and drive one of our new cars. Now, if you've seen the show, this happens somewhat frequently, but this was an odd invitation because it said, come meet us at Thunderhill. And last I checked, Thunderhill, that's a racetrack. So I'm looking at Kumo, Kumo's looking at me. We're both confused. What Hyundai are we going to drive on a racetrack? So I call them and I say, what Hyundai are we going to drive on a racetrack? They said, don't you worry about it. We got a whole new kind of Hyundai. It's called an N. Now I'm even more confused. They said, just beef it. Well, apparently, it's not just Germans designing Hyundais. They got another German to make them go fast and handle the right way. So before you and I drive it on Thunderhill, let's do a tech review to understand really what the Germans are doing to Korean cars. You know that 1.6 gasoline, direct injected 4-cylinder turbocharged engine we talk about in virtually every Hyundai and Kia episode? Today we're not going to talk about that. Instead, we're going to talk about a 2-liter direct injected gasoline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. And here there's a couple of things going on because yes, this is supposed to be their performance division, this N thing. However, there are two flavors on offer. Changes the output. So the most basic one is 250 horsepower, but you know what? Let's not spend a lot of time focusing on it. Let's focus on the one with the performance package. That's 275 horsepower, and that comes in at 6,000 RPM. Now the difference, that 25 extra horsepower, is all done through software, basically changing the throttle mapping. And then there's the torque, 260 pounds of torque, comes in at a very low 1,450 RPM, stays flat all the way up to 4,700 RPM. I will save you the rewinding to other episodes. As a basis of comparison, the 1.6 is 195 pounds of torque in its best derivation. Then there is one other main difference, and this I'm very happy to discuss with you. The power goes to the front wheels. Not as excited about that, but still fine, because you know this is a competitor now, a legitimate competitor to a GTI. Anything you want, as long as it's 6 forward gears with 3 pedals. Inside, it's still a Veloster. However, there are a number of changes that work together to make it feel like a very special Veloster. The one you noticed the most are the seats. More bolstered sports seats. They do have contrast stitching in this blue, which is repeated everywhere. We'll get to that as a theme in just a bit. But here's the catch with the seats. Anything you want as long as it's black. And I don't know if a sunroof is available. I would like a sunroof available, but I haven't seen one in this entire track. Can we have a different color, Mike O'Brien, or anybody else that can change this? Because it's a cool looking car on the outside. Would love to see some color choices on the inside. Maybe a lighter color. Or how about this? How about a two-tone? Like, give me the black, but maybe this blue as an inset in the middle of the seat. That would be a nice touch. Then there are some changes like the gauges change, the steering wheel's a bit more sculpted, and then obviously the drive mode buttons are on the steering wheel. Once again, this blue is repeated. Now, maybe I'm being pedantic about this, but to me that's French racing blue. That is not anything to do with Korean. Well, maybe it is if you've seen the livery of Korean Air, but in a car, I'm still thinking French racing blue. And while we're on that topic, my favorite change, and it's not a Porsche. Colored seatbelts, once again in, let's call it Korean Racing Blue. So thank you very much for this, really like that, and it's repeated here as well. And then there's some technology bits. Yeah, there is Apple CarPlay, which is fitted as standard as well as Android Auto, but then there is this N mode thing here, and what the N mode does, it's a series of gauges basically. So turbo boost gauge, torque, power meter, and then you can do some custom stuff over here. Well, the vehicle must be on for this feature to work. But you get my drift. We'll play around with that in the coming full first drive review. Back to Apple CarPlay. And I believe, oh, there's one more thing. The shift knob is different. Of course, has an N on it, and yes, finished in the blue. Yes, the output is a huge differentiator between a Veloster N and a Veloster R-Spec. However, I would argue that it's only 50% of the equation. The other 50% is the cumulative total of all the bits that have been changed under the heading of driving dynamics. And for this, we need to start at the back. Like, you know how we talk about in many Hyundai episodes, not just the Veloster R-Spec, but in the Kona, where there's a multi-link independent suspension in the back. Here, it's no different. However, they changed some of the hardware in the back. So it's got a rear strut brace, and it's got different bushings. Then in the front, that's a bigger change. Yeah, it retains the McPherson struts. However, it's fitted with a limited slip differential, like an old school mechanical diff. We will spend more time talking about this in the coming full first drive review. Now, a huge asterisk here, that is fitted to only the performance package cars. And while we're on the topic of performance package cars, there's two other changes. So the wheels and tires change as well as the brakes. Like, for example, the basic car is two 25/40 R18s, where a performance pack car is two 35/35 R19s. The brakes, say in the back, the actual diameter of the rotors, it's 11.8 in the back and it's 13 in the front. Performance pack, it's 12.4 in the back, 13.6 in the front. Then there's one major change that we have yet to get to, and that's the dampers. So in a Veloster, just a regular R-Spec, static dampers, meaning they're not adjustable. Well, apparently that's changed in an N. They are adjustable. I decided to steal some of like the show and tell they had over there. Please don't tell anybody. I also do it in the full first drive review, so definitely come back for that. So this is the electronically controlled damper fitted to all four corners of every Veloster N. I think that's about everything. Now let's circle back to the invitation that we opened the episode with. And if you consider all the things we just discussed, that invitation to drive a Hyundai on Thunderhill doesn't look as ridiculous, does it? But there's still one major thing we got to discuss, and that is the mass. Now, as a basic comparison, the R-Spec that we drove a couple months back, that was about a 2,800 pound car, a little over 2,800 pounds. This with a bigger engine and has just more parts that the R-Spec doesn't have, like a limited slip differential, that's going to add some weight. But the penalty is not as much as I thought it would be. It's 3,036 pounds for the car you are looking at here and the one we will drive in the coming full first drive review. Then there's another change, and that's the way it looks. I am one of the few people that actually likes the look of the Veloster, especially this second generation. It's a little bit more mature. But they, of course, had to make changes to make it look, I don't want to say ridiculous, but different. Like the front is different. There's bigger openings. The front fascia is different at the bottom. There's a side sill that's been extended that says N on it. And of course, to impress your girlfriend's parents, there is a very large spoiler on the back. I don't know. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Or would you want to go with like the GTI route where maybe it's blacked out and there's a badge, but other than that, it kind of looks like a Golf. Which one would you choose? Arrest Me Red with all these changes, or something more under the radar? Let me know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV on Word, MotoManTV on Word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And until then, I think I need to spend some time with that 928, hopefully on Thunderhill. And then we'll get to this. So see you next time. Bis später.